Hey guys, Car197 again. This time with a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Renewable Century Super Gundam from the Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam series. For color scheme, we have the traditional Gundam colors, a lot of white, blue, red, and yellow for little details. And we have a very vibrant white and a very dark blue for the chest. And then to round things up for the Mark II, we have a very dark gray for the joints and for the weapons. Much darker than usual, but definitely not in a bad way. Then for the G Defensor, we once again have a lot of white tipped off with blue, but this time much lighter blue, much more of your typical Gundam blue. Then we have yellow for the intakes there, and once again the same dark gray for the accessory and for the mechanical details. For stickers, we do get quite a lot of them, but almost all of them are going to be for the G Defensor. So for the Mark II itself, we get, of course, the usual eye stickers, front and back camera. We have the eyes, front camera, also there, the back camera. And then two I didn't use for the Gundam Mark II are the yellow ones, which are supposed to go right in there in the shield. But really, I thought the shield looked a lot better just without the yellow pieces. Then on the G Defensor, we get the big blue parts on the wings, the big red parts right there. Then we should also put the white sticker around the beam cannon, but once again, I thought it looked better solid gray, and it probably wouldn't have looked that great with just the white sticker on there. Then also some for the G Defensor, we're supposed to put some yellow stickers right there. But the thing about them is they have the white part also in there, and I wasn't too thrilled about those stickers. So once again, I thought it would look a lot better without it. Well, G Defensor, I mean the core fighter of the G Defensor. So as far as color accuracy is concerned, the Gundam Mark II does a pretty good job with one big exception, and that is the backpack. It's molded in the same dark blue as the chest. Well, it should have been molded in dark gray, the same dark gray used by the joints and the accessories. But you know, since it is in a dark blue, it's not really noticeable. Then on the other hand, we have the G Defensor, which comes with a lot of stickers and is still going to require some detailed painting, mainly in the little thrusters, the Vulcan guns on the pods, and also when we open up the pods, those missiles should be red instead of gray. On to Articulation, and this Gundam Mark II is just your typical Gundam Mark II. Head goes a bit up, bit down, rotates around all the way, arms rotate around, go up nicely on that extra joint, then up like that, down, a little bit forwards and backwards on that joint, and we'll rotate around, bend at the elbow at one joint for 90 degrees, hands are on ball joints, we'll wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. On the backpack, we have his thrusters that only go down about that much because these are still the plastic wires instead of getting the mesh pipes with the flying armor version. Then the waist will rotate around all the way. Front skirts mold together, can be separated. Kicks out about that far, backwards about that much. Will rotate around on the ball joints and go out about that far. Legs are double jointed for a nice bend just like that. And then we have the foot guard that goes up and down, feet that go forwards like that, bit backwards, and we have a nice toe joint and side to side, and we'll finally also rotate around a bit. Up next, the accessories for the Gundam Mark II itself. We get the usual earmuff Vulcans, get a beam rifle with a movable extra handle, we get the bazooka, which has a movable handle, we get this thing, which I refuse to acknowledge, and we also get the movable shield. Now, of course, this thing isn't going to really transform, simply take it apart and then put it back like that. And there we go. Everything fits on the Gundam Mark II just perfectly. No wobbly weapons or anything. We do unfortunately only get a right trigger finger hand, but the bazooka does fit into the left holding hand absolutely perfectly. Now, of course, the beam rifle, because it has a trigger guard, will not go into the left hand, but the bazooka will, of course, go into the right trigger finger hand. Now, I just threw away something. So what are we going to do with the beam sabers? Well, worry not, because these are actually functional beam sabers. They have holes in them, and yes, they will take the standard 1/144 scale beam blades. Now, of course, we have our bazooka in our left hand, so what could we possibly do with that? So here we have the bazooka on the storage rack on the back skirt, and this is definitely one of the best storage racks I've seen on any high grade. It's on there extremely solid. Then we have the beam saber. Now usually it's a bit floppy inside of the hand, but if you position it so that this, well, button thing is on the side of the hand cover, it is going to be in there extremely solidly. Now, one thing I once again want to make extremely clear is that you do not get clear beam saber blades with this kit. It can, however, use any of the standard beam saber blades from the other kits, but you do not get them. And once again, we unfortunately do not get a right holding hand either, just as we do not get a left trigger finger hand. The right holding hand for the beam sabers is unfortunately molded together with that thing I refuse to acknowledge. Then we once again return to the back. First, I want to quickly point out that the shield can also be put in a different position, one on the side, one at the back, and can of course also be mounted onto the right arm. And then, while we're here, let's remove this little cover, and this will remove the hole where the G Defensor is going to go in. So here is the G Defensor, and I must say it's a very nice streamlined little thing, despite all the transformation it's going to do in a second. Also, very nice metallic green sticker on the long rifle there. Also, maybe important to point out is that you can only store one long rifle on there. On the other side of this thing, there isn't an attachment for the long rifle. So you can, for example, buy 2 Super Gundams and have a Super Duper Gundam with 2 long rifles. But let's get on with the transformation, which is a very neat little thing. Because, well, everything is transformable, no parts forming involved here whatsoever. And, well, it's got some very cool mechanical parts, like right in there. As it simply moves out of the way. There we go. And just pull out this flap, and we're already ready to put the Gundam Mark II in there for the transportation mode. And all you got to do is line up the Gundam Mark II with the peg. There we go. And this folds in to grab onto his legs. Fold this down, and there we go. Perhaps also relevant to point out that you don't necessarily have to put it on an action base when it's in this mode. These little claws here on the back do also kind of serve as a landing gear of sorts. Now, if you would want to attach to an action base, well, then you gotta do it the same way as with your regular Gundam Mark II. Shove it right up there. And now to transform our transport Gundam into the Super Gundam, first thing we gotta do is get rid of the core fighter. Then this thing also transforms a little bit. Those flaps go up, this flap goes down, and there we go. The core fighter, armed with 2 mini laser cannons, can simply put it away, because I'm sure nothing bad will ever happen to it. Now we go back to our Super Gundam right here, and transformation is pretty much already done. Simply move this up. These boosters go up, and as you might be able to hear, they do click into place. They click out, and then they click in right there. So that's a very nice locking mechanism, and that's pretty much already everything. If you want to be anime accurate, this of course folds out like that. He grabs onto it, but for transformation, simply put that aside for a second. These things fold up, go out, and there we go. Simply put it down, and you have your Super Gundam ready for action. And one final piece of articulation this thing has is that the wings will also fold in, but the manual doesn't actually want you to do that, because when you fold them out, your Super Gundam is more intimidating like that. Oh, and of course, we still got to get rid of these hooks. All that's left to do is give him the long rifle, but there is going to be one small issue with this. Simply move this out, and then the trigger is in there. Unfortunately, on mine, and maybe on yours too, it's extremely tight, and I, for the life of me, cannot remove it like this. So excuse me for a second while I go get my tweezers. There it is, the Super Gundam in all of its glory. Now the long rifle fits quite well into the right hand, kind of like the bazooka. It's a bit loose in there, but once you get it propped up against the shoulder, no problems whatsoever. It won't really go into the left hand because, well, it can go a bit upwards in the right hand, which it cannot do in the left hand. So it would have to do an awkward sideways pose, kind of as shown in the manual here with the right hand, which is possible, but only when facing downwards. The back of the rifle is simply too long in order to have this pose and have him pointing straight forward or upward because, well, the G Defensor gets in the way. And finally, I know what everyone has been wondering for all of this review. Does it work with the real grade or the revived version? And well, let's immediately disappoint you by saying that it does not work with the real grade. Once again, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, Kakarot. What do you mean it doesn't work with the real grade? We've seen it work. Bandai is selling the G Defensor to go with the real grade. So why are you saying that it doesn't work with the real grade? Well, this set doesn't work with the real grade. The one you've seen work with the real grade is the P Bandai set that also comes with the flying armor and apparently also has an extra connector, because as I've shown, this one has a peg. This one does not have a hole in his backpack. On the front, it does have one on top here. So apparently the P Bandai set comes with a special kind of connector that slots into there and then allows the G Defensor to go right on there. Because of course they want us to buy the P Bandai set instead of simply being able to buy this thing and then just hook it up to the real grade. So yeah, unfortunately, the real grade is a no-go. Quickly moving on to better news, the revived version, because as you can see, the backpack, no problems whatsoever. The little issue here, however, is the long rifle, because as you're probably aware, the revived version uses the All Gundam Project hands, which are much smaller than the pretty giant hands the old Gundam Mark II comes with. And as you might have already noticed, his hand is missing, and I have the hand of the revived version right here. He's holding on to it with the hand of the old Gundam Mark II, because yes, they are of course compatible, because the ball joints are pretty much the same on all of the high grades. So yeah, you can swap the hands, and you're gonna have to do it, because these are just too thin to hold on to the rather thick handle of the long rifle. So what you're gonna have to do is, either like I did here, quickly switch out the hands, or hollow them out, or thin down the handle of the long rifle a bit. But still a hell of a lot of a better fit than it was on the real grade, namely not at all. So yeah, at least it is something. But in order to kind of get over the little disappointment of the compatibility of the Super Gundam, let's do a quick montage of everything the Super Gundam is also compatible with, because it's not just for the Gundam Mark II. Super G3 Gundam, Super Gym, Super Gym 2, Super Gym 3, Super Gym Quell, Super Materia. I bet you didn't see that one coming. I certainly didn't when I started doing this review. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Yes. For 2,000 yen, this is the Gundam Mark II that offers you the most bang for your buck, bar none. And it has quite a lot of competition out there. We have the revived version, we have the real grade version, we have the Titans version, we have the special versions. All kinds of Gundam Mark IIs out there in 1/44 scale. But I think if you're going to buy one of them, it should be the Super Gundam. It might not be the best in terms of quality, articulation, or anything, but for 2,000 yen, you're getting so much out of this thing. You're getting a base model that's really cool, you're getting an add-on pack that's also pretty cool, but combined, you're getting an awesome set with a lot of play value. And it's not just for the Gundam Mark II. If you don't want to use the G Defensor on the Mark II itself, you can just slap it onto another machine to make it the super variant offset machine. And it isn't just limited to the machines I've shown you, because The G Defensor uses a pretty universal peg, which also fits into the universal connector you get with a lot of those build fighter backpacks. So you can turn pretty much any model kit out there into a super variant of itself. Talking about super variants, a quick note on the Gym Quell, the Gym 2, and the Gym 3 I've shown in Super Forum. It's the backpack of the Gundam Mark II that they're compatible with. They're not compatible with the G Defensor with their original backpack. So just keep that in mind. You're also going to have to swap out the backpack if you're only going to buy these sets. So really, like I said, a lot of competition, but this is definitely the Mark II to get if you're only going to be buying one. So much stuff, so much bulk as well. I mean, for 2,000 yen, this is definitely showing where the money goes. So for size comparisons, first of all, to prove my point that, well, the Gundam Mark IIs have a lot of competition from each other, here are almost all of the 1/44 scale Gundam Mark IIs. There are still 3 missing, believe it or not. So from left to right, we have the 2 real grades, special coating version, Super Gundam of course. We have the Griffios War Set 1, the Ecopla version, we have the regular Titans version, and then we have the Titans Revive version. Still missing is the Revive version HGUC, the Flying Armor set, and also the Build Gundam Mark II, if you want to count that. So, a lot of Mark IIs, and out of all of them, the one I recommend is the Super Gundam. Followed by the regular Titans, the old one, because it is compatible with the advance of Zeta machines, such as the Gym Quell, of course the Hazels, and so on. So that's why that one definitely takes second place. And then third place, I would say, goes to the real great Titans version. Specifically the Titans version because it comes with a few extra parts that the HGUC version doesn't come with. So if you don't have any particular color preference, absolutely go for that Titans version. Then here he is next to the Hyakushiki and the Zeta Gundam, both from the Griffios War set. And finally, here he is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And man, just look at how much bulk the Gundam Mark II gets from that G Defensor. Well, that's all for this review. See you guys next time, and don't forget to stay super.